define ourselves as individuals.
How about working hard, taking a risk, dreaming up something nobody ever dreamed before, and then making it happen? That's called innovation. Music, movies, technology. All the great cultural leaps forward begin with innovators, Americans who think out of the box.
An innovator has in his mind or her mind a vision of the future that none of us even can imagine.
And who is the greatest American innovator? Well, I'd be nowhere without one contender, Thomas Edison. He invented the phonograph. Add to that the light bulb, and just about 1,000 other things.
Perfected the telephone, invented the phonograph, iron ore separate, quadruplex telegraphy, etheric force express, the mimeograph, and probably most importantly, the whole concept of organized research.
Okay, let's just start with the light bulb. It was Edison's vision to bring light to every street corner in America by creating the electrical distribution system, the grid. The rest, as they say, man, that's just history.
The way that Edison changed our lives is almost impossible to comprehend. Before Edison, there was no nightlife. There was night. Edison, in some sense, liberated 12 hours of the day. He took half the day and said, hey, you know what? Use this too.
Edison is also responsible for the movie camera. He invented the film projector and created the very first film studio. It produced the earliest movie hits. This one's called The Kiss, and then later, The Great Train Robbery. Thanks to Edison, the movies were sex and violence from the get-go. And then there's the telephone. Everyone knows Alexander Graham Bell invented that.
The thing about Alexander Graham Bell's telephone was it didn't work very well.
But Edison perfected the phone, adding the transmitter still used today. He even popularized the word hello.
Hello. He's got a wicked sense of humor. And so he got Victorians that were extremely prim and proper. Got them all to say hello.
Edison has hundreds of patents for industrial inventions. The house that Ruth built, well, actually, it was built with Edison cement. But Edison's favorite achievement was recorded sound. He recorded the human voice for the first time in history on a little tin cylinder just like this one is. And can you imagine life without the phonograph? Edison gave America its soundtrack.
Thank God for Thomas Edison. Thomas, you put it down for us, dog.
Thomas Edison was a man way ahead of his time, but I doubt even he could have imagined how the invention of the record player could have led to the birth of rock and roll. Well, it all begins in a little recording studio in Memphis, Tennessee. Call it the Second American Revolution.
It was July 5th, it was 1954, and it is a great story.
A 19-year-old Elvis Presley is making a demo for producer Sam Phillips. He's recording, believe it or not, a Bing Crosby tune.
Sounded bad, sounded leaden. And they started goofing around in between takes with a blues song. And Sam Phillips heard them goofing around, and he said, that's great. Can we try that? Can we record that?
Well, that's all right, Mama. That's all right for you.
That's all right may not sound like much today, but it started a revolution.
That's all right.
That's the record that sounded too white for the black stations and too black for the white stations. That's the shot heard around the world.
He managed to do all these different kinds of musical styles, which he assimilated and regurgitated as this new kind of music.
There's a large group of Americans who think that Elvis invented rock and roll. You know, everything he did, from his vocal licks to his dance moves, to even the way he dressed, came from black folks.
Now the bellhop's tears keep flowing, the desk clerk's dressed in black. Well, they've been so long on the street, they'll never look back.
The blurring of racial lines touched a nerve, but good.
Part of what was threatening about Elvis was that he told the truth about America, which is that we share more than we want to believe. And when you told the truth in 1954 about black and white audiences sharing something, people wanted to shut you up.
He got people to think about themselves differently physically. I think he He seeded the ground for people to think about race in a different fashion. He was very brave. This is a guy that probably read nothing but terrible things about himself in the newspaper for the first 3 years when he was creating a revolution.
They cleaned him up and shipped him off to the army. But it was too late. Elvis Presley had already helped young people in America find their voice.
50s teenagers before Elvis were a pretty docile group. And after Elvis, there was something stirring in the youth of America, that they could change things.
I didn't do anything, we just jiggle, you know.
Elvis's career had many more acts. Movies, some good and some not so good. The powerful 60s comeback, the painful 70s decline. But it's his early innovation that crowned him king.
To guys my age, I don't care whether you're American or English or anywhere else, it was heart-stopping stuff.
Did Elvis literally invent rock and roll? Well, of course not. It was more than that.
Elvis embodies an American spirit of innovation and an American idea, which is no boundaries, no rules.
When we come back, I'll tell you about 3 more rule breakers.
Coming up, Revenge of the Nerds.
Here's a geek that did it. You grow up and you start Microsoft. That's how you get back at your classmates.
After this.
Life without Elvis or life without your PC? Think about that as John Mellencamp presents 3 more great American innovators.
So how many times a day did you check your email, go online, or do something that years ago would have required a whole lot of thinking? Chances are your day would have been a whole lot different without Microsoft and this guy. No, Bill Gates did not invent the PC. You can thank number 76 on the list, Stephen Jobs, for that. But Gates saw the revolution a-coming. And in 1974, he wrote one of the very first computer languages in his Harvard dorm room.
Here's a geek that did it. You grow up and you start Microsoft. That's how you get back at your classmates.
What made Bill Gates all that money was not a technical innovation, but a single stroke of business brilliance.
What Bill Gates realized before anybody else was that without the brains, a personal computer is just a heap of plastic and silicon and glass.
So for 50 grand, Gates bought the rights to a computer language named MS-DOS. It became the operating system on nearly every PC in the world and earned Bill Gates a whole bunch of money. But it's not just about the money he's made. You may vote for Bill Gates because of the money he's given away.
What I admire about Bill Gates is what he's done with his money. He didn't have to become the extraordinary philanthropist that he and his wife have become.
The Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation is attacking health problems in Africa and around the world.
There's a lot of great causes. I think people don't recognize how much fun it can be and the impact they can have.
With more than $7 billion in donations to date, Bill Gates may ultimately be remembered not as the world's richest man, but as the most generous.
In maybe the second paragraph of his obituary, we'll read about MS-DOS and Windows and its technological innovations.
Gates isn't the only great American to change our lives with the mouse. Just try growing up in America without some childhood memory courtesy of Walt Disney.
The water is stiff. I love Bambi. It was embarrassing how hard I cried in the movie theater. I was a little girl and I couldn't stop crying.
The most famous mouse on Earth was born in 1928. Steamboat Willie was the first Mickey Mouse film, and it was a huge sensation for its technical innovation. It was the first cartoon with synchronized sound. And Disney kept innovating his whole life. He introduced color to cartoons, made the first animated feature, and embraced television when the rest of Hollywood thought it was a threat.
Welcome. You had the wonderful world of Disney. It was Sunday night. For a kid, that was it.
And Walt Disney had the crazy idea to build a theme park where every day is New Year's Eve.
It's a magical kingdom. I'm sorry, I sound like a fool to say it.
While Walt Disney was an entertainment pioneer, he He was a political conservative, testifying against people he thought were communists during the Hollywood Red Scare.
I had called them all a bunch of communists, and I believe they are.
But for all his life, Walt himself believed deeply in the squeaky clean values that are synonymous with the Disney name.
He really was able to create an empire of family happiness.
More than 1 million people walk through the doors of a Disney theme park every week. And that sounds like a lot until you consider each week 30 million visit another American institution, the Oprah Winfrey Show.
What is it that has so many TV viewers hooked on Oprah?
Everyone loves Oprah.
It is Oprah madness on the red carpet.
I love her. I love her.
I absolutely idolize her.
I've always said if I wasn't married to my wife, Oprah and I we'd be together.
Maybe it's the free stuff she gives away on her show.
Everybody gets a car!
Or maybe it's Oprah's no-spin zone.
She has insisted on remaining herself.
As most of TV seemed to become dumber and dumber, she made her show smarter, deeper, and more meaningful.
You don't become what you want. You become what you believe. By the way she's used her mantle, she's really inspired millions and millions of people in their lives.
Thank you, Oprah.
But Oprah's most intelligent innovation has just got to be the TV book club.
She takes a subject that most Americans don't find particularly interesting and makes it appealing and makes it exciting and gets people reading again.
We're talking real literature here. Oprah put Tolstoy on the bestsellers list.
I mean, that has to be an achievement as great as the invention of the internal combustion engine.
There are some people who will never be able to say TV talk show host and greatest American in the same breath.
Someone might look at this list and say, Oprah Winfrey and Abraham Lincoln on the same list? Is this a joke?
But don't count Oprah's friends and fans among them.
She didn't write the Declaration of Independence. She wasn't President of the United States. But she has had an extraordinary influence on a generation of people.
So there you have it, the American Innovators. And don't forget to vote, you guys.
So who's it going to be?